So I thought I'd talk to you a little bit about the psychological and lifestyle goods and bads. So the first 12 months is, they call it the honeymoon period, and it is. You can more or less do anything you want and you'll lose weight. And that's the reality of it, to be fair. Most people can eat any foods they want and they will lose weight. So even if you continue to eat chocolate, cake, the restriction is so big, so tight, that you can still only eat a small amount of foods like that and you are full. And because you're eating so few calories, because you can only eat a few mouthfuls of any food that you eat, the weight does drop off. And it feels like a miracle. And like I say, also, because a lot of people get this lack of hunger, that also, and the change in taste buds, it makes us think, oh God, I've cracked it. My relationship with food, all that obsession. Because I remember before my weight loss surgery, the obsession with food, the amount of time and energy that I took trying to get rid of thinking about food, planning, exercise, calories, carbs, sugar. It was just, all consuming, absolutely all consuming. And when I didn't have that hunger, that seemed to die down and go away a little bit. Couple of questions on here that I am just going to talk about. Somebody said, well, will a sleeve give you reflux if you've never suffered from it? We can't tell, but if you have suffered from it, it is more likely to give you reflux than if you haven't. If you haven't suffered from it, sometimes people will have the sleeve and it gets rid of it, because excess weight and great obesity does tend to give people reflux, because your stomach is pressing up here onto your ribs, under your diaphragm, under your esophagus, and that actually restricts and gives you reflux. So some people have it before and don't ever have it again after. So it's one of those that if you really suffer from it, then you would be better off having a mini gastric bypass or a bypass. If you don't suffer from it now, the chances are that you might be all right, but we still can't tell. Somebody, Anne-Marie here, says you're 4 weeks post-op and have lost no weight. Okay, that's very, very rare. Maybe you lost a lot on the pre-op diet, or your body could have gone into shock because you're not eating enough or drinking enough. But pop me a private message, Anne-Marie, after, and I'll see if I can do something to help you with that. I need to have a proper chat with you about what you're eating and what's going on for you, but that really is very unusual. So there must be something that we can tweak there to help that start up again. Okay, right. So what I was saying, the first 12 months, you can more or less eat anything. You just eat smaller portions. And you know what? It's amazing, because you get so many compliments. Every time I went out the door, oh my God, you look amazing. People not recognizing you. It just feels fantastic. Now, it's a really weird thing, because I didn't quite like the compliment. I didn't mind people saying, oh, you look great, but they go on and on and on. Oh my God, and I go, all right, okay, enough. Because most of us are not very good at taking compliments. But I tell you something, when they stop, that was a different thing. It really does. I'm going to come on to that in a minute. So because you're getting all those compliments and you're looking in the mirror and you're getting new clothes, and oh my God, don't buy loads of new clothes, because you will go through the sizes so quickly. I remember just raiding charity shops and Primani, just buying things that were either really cheap or from charity shops, because you do go through them. Some of them I'd buy it and I never even worn them because I'd lost the size, I'd gone down another size. So it feels great. And from the outside, you feel like amazing. It increases your self-esteem. You feel really confident. Well, I did. And I just felt absolutely incredible. I felt like I could do anything. And that it was fantastic. Clothes fit, I could do different activities, and I did just feel amazing, and most people do. However, what are some of the negative sides? Well, some people do suffer from buyer's remorse, what they call, what the hell have I done to myself? Particularly in that first few weeks when you're eating so little, it's like, oh my God, I don't know why did I do this? This is awful. It does fade for most people. And the other thing is almost like a food funeral. I don't know whether anybody in here felt that. It's like you can't use food emotionally anymore. And it's like, what am I going to do with myself? Particularly, you know, I'm not eating, and I'm so, you know, so much of my life was taken up with eating. It was like, I don't know what to do with myself now. And I was definitely an emotional eater. I've had to work quite hard on that. And, you know, I'd eat on all emotions. Just to make myself feel normal, not even to make myself feel great, but just to make myself feel normal. And yeah, I found it really difficult because I'd lost my crutch, because I couldn't really eat the things that I used to eat, or certainly not the amounts that I used to eat. Couldn't binge anymore. And so that was actually what, you know, the thing that I really wanted when I got it was very uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. And at that stage, people have to be very careful because they can do things like cross-addiction into alcohol, exercise, which is great to a certain extent, unless it doesn't go too far. I must admit, I've always prayed for that one. You know, I never, you know, I can get addicted to most things, but exercise was one that I never did. I know lots of people who have, though. Alcohol, shopping, that can be a big one, because, you know, suddenly you've got this amazing figure that you didn't have before, so you're just going out and shopping, and, you know, people that get into real debt problems. So there are some, you know, that are bad as far as the psychology is concerned. The problem is, and I hate to say this, after about 18 months, that's when the trouble steps in. And I need to tell people this because it's really important. That because you can do more or less whatever you want in that first 12 months or so, people think that they're fixed. The psychology of eating and the fact that most of us were emotional eaters, self-sabotagers, had a history of people using food through their family to show love and affection and a host of things, means that when we do take that away, our psychological, or our self, if you like, our subconscious mind is trying to find ways to calm and soothe you, to make those emotions, to manage and handle those emotions. And it's always used food, and food's quick and it fixes it really easily. The problem is that you've taken that ability away. And as time goes on, you can eat more. You can eat those foods that you couldn't eat before. If you continue to eat things like sweet foods that in the first couple of months or a few months tasted too sweet, and you know, the daft thing is that our body or our mind is very clever. And instead of going, great, I don't like sweets anymore, I'm not going to ever have them anymore, what's the point? They've got no nutritional value in them, I don't need them. I can live the rest of my life without having another ounce of sugar. We go, oh, I'll just try a bit. I'll just try a little bit, see what it tastes like, and then I'll just try a bit more. And before you know it, because you can eat more and because your taste buds are reverting back, and you've not made the lifestyle changes and the change your relationship with food in that first 12 months, then the problem can be that you really do get to the stage where I shouldn't read these, because when I read them, it knocks me off my thread. I'll stop every now and again and read them. So because you've not made those changes, that your body really does, or your brain sends you back to try to find ways around it. So I found things like I started eating off a bigger plate again. I don't know why, and I can't remember when, but I did. And we did our weight loss seminar in March, this weight loss support seminar, and we had a bariatric dietitian, Van Patel, who's going to help and come on as a guest slot sometime for you guys to do a question and answer session with on a Monday. And she said, you know, about eating off a smaller plate. And I went back to that, and I haven't need to lose that much, really. I'm quite happy the way I am now, but maybe I've lost about 3 pounds in a few weeks just by doing that again. I found that cravings would come back in because I was eating more sugar. And before you know it, if you've not changed your relationship with food and you haven't worked on the head stuff, it all comes flooding back. And you can really start to struggle. And people tend to put some weight back on. Now, it is average that people do put between 10 and 15% of their weight loss back on after they get to their very lowest, because the body equilibrates. And as I said last week, we're not all designed to be a BMI of 25 or less. That's just not the way it is. We are designed to be how we're meant to be, and we're not all one size fits all. So, but when you get to the lowest weight you're going to be, expect to put 10 or 15% back on. That is normal. It's also normal for most people to put weight on in winter and lose it again in summer. Now, I never knew that because I was constantly putting weight on. But I now see that in winter I put about 6 or 7 pounds on that I lose in summer, just normally. I never realised. My husband always did that. That never happened to me. So if you don't change the lifestyle stuff, be careful. You've got to be so careful. I'm just going to read any of these. So, sorry, I was meant to say I've lost nothing in the last 2 weeks. I lost that stone in the first 2 weeks. Anne-Marie. Okay, well, that answers it. Somebody else, Michael's put, Anne-Marie, most people store week 3. Weeks 3 and 4, yeah, really usual to have a stall. Have a look in the file section. Have a look in the support pack for newbies. In there, it talks to you absolutely exactly about why that happens. We stall all the time. Weight loss is not a linear science. It doesn't go, downwards like that. It sort of goes like that. It sometimes goes up or more like that. But occasionally it will go up because it's influenced by many things: hormones, age, medication, mindset, cortisol, all sorts of things. And usually when you are stalling, you are losing weight. So the body's getting rid of the fat and flushing the fat out of your system. So have a look. Don't be downhearted. It will happen again. Lee says, I'm always hungry, more hungry now than before the bypass. Bypass does not remove the fundus gland. And the fundus gland is the thing that's responsible for the ghrelin hormone. With sleeve, it does. So you will not have that reduction in hunger that you have with a sleeve, Lee. But what you do have is you have the malabsorption. So the chances are you probably eat a little bit more than people on a sleeve, but because you've got the malabsorption part, you're not absorbing as many of those calories, so it balances itself out. So yes, you will feel more hungry, perhaps. And I suppose the thing about that is making sure that you eat every 3 hours and nowhere in between. I'm getting all these comments here. So on the pre-op diet, what did you have, please? Okay, well, I personally did Slim and Save. You can get it online. It's shakes and protein shakes and little meals that you can eat, like cottage pie, chili. You can have veg with it, and you can have an evening meal. And I used to have something like salmon and chicken and a salad at night with my family, and then I'd have 3 packs of these different things during the day. I found that was really easy. After 6 days, you don't feel hungry because you go into something called ketosis. So that was what I had. I found that the easiest, but you can do less than 1,000 calorie pre-op diet. Lee's going, got you. Cheers, Lee. Lovely. Glad I answered that question. Okay, so how can you make your experience go from a good to a fabulous? I'm going to give you 2 scenarios of 2 people. Excuse me, I'm going to put my glasses down because I have read. I need to read the notes that I wrote about these people when I was coaching them. So these are 2 people that come to me for coaching. The one of them has come to me just recently, and I am just starting coaching with her. I'm going to call her Jane. She's not called Jane, but I'm going to call her Jane for the purpose of this exercise. She is now 2 years after surgery, and she has regained 30% of the weight that she lost. She never got down to the weight that she'd like to be. She got down to a BMI of about 27 and a half, but she was absolutely obsessed. And I remember this lady on the group before she came to me trying to help her with having a BMI of less than 25. And even though I would say, no, not everybody can do that. You can't all get that. She was hell-bent on it, absolutely hell-bent on it. That was, like, to her, the most important thing. The other thing that I remember about her was that she didn't, what I call, enjoy the journey. She was so hell-bent on that number of 25 that she was always, if she had a stall or if she, anything, you know, for a week, it was like, oh my God, you know, it was the end of the world. She was constantly comparing herself with everybody else, like, such and such has lost more than me. How much have you lost? You know, doing that comparison thing. So what happened is she just never enjoyed any of it. It was all about the end result. When I get to a BMI of 25 or less, my whole life will change and be fabulous. I really, really remember about that about her. She won't mind. Well, I've not used the real name anyhow, so she doesn't even know I'm talking about it. And she freely admits that in that first 12 to 18 months, she did nothing. She changed nothing apart from eating smaller portions. She still ate all the same food, she still did everything, but she lost weight. And because she was losing weight week after week after week, she thought, well, maybe I'm one of those that doesn't need to change. I don't need to restrict my carbs. I don't need to think about what I'm eating. I don't need to exercise. I don't need to think about my relationship with food because it's all sorted. And you know what? That's the reality of it. Often it makes us feel like that. So she just, you know, she'd listen what was on the groups and things, and she'd see other people and just think, well, that's not me, I'm fine, I'm losing weight, it's not a problem. So she just ate the smaller pots, and she got shed loads of compliments. She's a particularly attractive young lady, loads of compliments everywhere she went, and she loved it. And she, you know, she's getting all these compliments. She got all these new clothes, obsessed with this BMI of 25, and always comparing. She was never satisfied, always wanting it for all to happen when she lost the weight. So that was her mindset when she went into this bariatric surgery and all the way through. So when she got to losing about 80% of her weight, she decided that she was going to have some cosmetic surgery. Now, because she'd not got peace with herself, it didn't matter to her what bit changed. So when she got to 80%, she wasn't happy because she'd not hit that BMI of 25. Okay, she said, I'm going to go and have a tummy tuck because that'll get rid of all the excess skin. That's another bad. I've got to tell you, you do get excess skin. So she went, she got the tummy tuck, and she came back from having the tummy tuck. Sorry, this is Bella. Hi, Bella. Say hello to everybody. She came back from the tummy tuck, and literally, honestly, within 4 weeks, she was like, but look at my boobs, they're really saggy. She never, ever enjoyed the journey. She didn't enjoy, oh God, I've got a really flat tummy, isn't that amazing, blah, blah, blah. No, it was like, no, I need my boobs doing now. So she went to have her boobs doing, and then it was like, well, is this one bigger than that one? Is that one, you know, it was just this absolute, complete lack of any peace with her body image at all. And I just felt so sorry for her. I remember having loads of conversations with her, saying, you know, maybe some coaching would be really good because, you know, you've got to come to peace with yourself. You need to work on your body image. Because, you know, when we lose this weight really, really quickly, we really struggle with that because we think that, you know, body image, we're going to love ourselves. But actually, it's weird because things change. So, you know, the bits that we liked before, other bits take over. So I remember I always hated my fat stomach. It's the only thing I could ever see. But when I lost the weight, it was my thighs that I felt that I really don't like now. It just does. So, you know, coming to terms with a new body image is really important, and she didn't. This poor lady was so low in self-esteem, even though she'd lost all this weight, even though she'd had all this weight loss surgery and this cosmetic surgery. She spent thousands of pounds in it, loads of time, and she just wasn't happy with herself. She never was. And what made it worse was that her husband was really threatened by this because she was an attractive woman, her relationship with him changed, and he felt so threatened that he didn't want her going out. He didn't want her going out with friends or anything. And she started to eat again. And we identified a lot of it was self-sabotage. She couldn't cope with the fact that her relationship might change. She might lose her husband. So she started to put the weight on again because then it makes him feel better. And he doesn't feel threatened, so they're not having those constant arguments all the time. You know, she started to put the weight on again because she was feeling so emotionally upset about the journey she'd been on. It hadn't given her all her dreams and what she wanted. And she just started to eat more sugar, and put the weight back on. And recently she's come back to me, 30% of her weight is back on. And we're doing some coaching together, and you know, she's in a much better place. But that is, you know, what can be a typical you know, story for people that don't work on the mindset stuff, don't work on this head stuff. Contrast it with this lady, I'm going to call her Julie. This is an amazing journey. She started coaching 6 weeks before she had her surgery. So we looked at all of her eating behaviours and why she emotionally ate, what her eating triggers and things were before she went on her pre-op diet. And why she used food. And she had some amazing aha moments, what we call, oh my God, I never realised that. And why she continued to eat even though she didn't want to. So we identified there was a few things. She was self-sabotaging herself. She got night eating. She was getting up in the middle of the night every night and eating, and she didn't know why. She got low self-esteem. She was having problems with her relationship because her husband was a feeder and he kept trying to feed her and made it worse. She got a history of sabotaging, and she'd never driven, and she felt housebound. She'd always wanted to drive a car, but she never had, and she was like, she lived in a tiny village that didn't even have a train station, and she felt very, very housebound. And this poor lady, this absolutely poor lady, she was just in a real state when she came to me. And we did loads of things. We looked at her emotional eating triggers. We looked at what was driving her. We put some boundaries in place. We did eating plans. She was accountable to me every day. She did a food diary, which I looked at. But one of the most amazing things is that this night eating, we discussed it. And I remember her saying to me, I said to her, so, you know, what do you eat when you get up in the middle of the night? Because usually when we have a go-to food, there's an emotional connection with a certain time or person. And it goes back way before. So that food will have fixed something in us at a certain time in our life, so we go back to it whenever we are feeling unhappy. And she said, well, I always have like sweets, chocolates, biscuits, but the one thing I've got to have is a Marmite sandwich. And I said, Marmite sandwich? Okay, so who eats Marmite? And she said, well, no, sorry, first of all, I asked her when she first started to eat this. And she said, I started eating in the night when I was 14. And she was about mid-40s now. And she said, it was awful. She said, my sister's boyfriend, well, she was married, her sister was married, and her husband came onto her. And she said, and I rebuffed him. She said, because he was so scared that I was going to tell the rest of my family, he went and told the family that I'd come in onto him, and everybody believed me, and I never, ever said anything because I felt guilty and I felt shameful, even though it wasn't me. And my sister fell out with me, my parents fell out with me, everybody in the family hated me. And she said, I remember going to bed at night feeling like I was going to die because I was in so much panic. It was like awful. And she said, and now, quite often I wake up in the middle of the night and I just feel that's the first thing I feel when I wake up is this panic, like I'm going to die. It's a panic thing. So that's when I said to her, so what do you normally eat? And she said she ate this Marmite sandwich, amongst other things, but she had to have a Marmite sandwich. So I said to her, who eats Marmite? And she went, oh, my dad. She said, yeah, he always Marmite. He told me, you know, he's a prisoner of war. This was exactly how it was said. He was a prisoner of war. And she said, he told me it was the only thing that kept him alive. And right in that moment, she realised that that connection with words that her dad had said, that Marmite keeps you alive, or kept him alive, meant that when she felt that she was dying, which she did with this panic, that the thing that was going to keep her alive was the Marmite sandwich. So she was getting up in the middle of the night and eating the Marmite sandwich. After that, she'd eat crisps, cakes, what have you. But it was that feeling of panic and knowing it, you know? And that to her was what we call a light bulb moment. She realised where this was coming from. She knew why it was happening because she traced it back to when she was 14 and these feelings of panic, which she never realised before. She knew what the emotional connection with that food was. And we did some work around it for a couple of weeks, and I did speak to her about 3 months ago. This is about 4 years ago now, and she's never ever eaten any night sick. It was that powerful for her. It was amazing. So after 6 months, she'd lost 100% of her excess weight. She's kept it off, bar about, well, I think she's still a BMI of 25 and a bit. And as the other lady, and I'm afraid that this is part and parcel of weight loss surgery, her relationship with her husband really suffered. He was a feeder. He was feeding her to try to keep her fat. We identified that because then she wouldn't go off with anybody else. Where the other lady just started to eat to not upset him, this lady went, no shit, Sherlock, you ain't not gonna sabotage this. I've had this for my life, this weight, and I am free for the first time ever. And she just gave him an ultimatum and said, look, you stop sabotaging me or I'm off. He didn't, and she left him. She's moved to Spain. She's set up her own business as a estate agent over there. She's bought a car and she's driving. And she said to me, Amanda, I have got a life beyond my wildest dreams. And she said, that's not just down to the surgery, that's down to the fact that we did that mindset stuff. Because it didn't just affect my weight, it affected my self-esteem, my confidence, my everything, her career, her relationships. And apparently, I heard last week that she's got a toy boy as well. It's a Spanish toy boy. So, this mindset stuff is really important because it can be the difference between a good and a fabulous experience. Don't get me wrong, even without it, the changes that bariatric surgery gives you are far better than anything that I'd ever tried before. And the majority of people do not regret it. But, you know, the lifelong changes in making sure you're exercising, making sure you're eating the right foods, making sure that you're not eating emotionally, you're handling your emotions in a way that stops you from needing to use food, that frees you up from that obsession that I remember that just absolutely thinking about it all the time. I rarely, you know, I mean, I do think about food because it's natural, we've got to eat. But I don't think about it in any way like I used to do. And I know this lady doesn't as well. So next week, looking at some of the questions, I think that maybe I need to go through some of the different procedures, and maybe as well I might do a little bit about self-sabotage. Give me a 1 if you want to know about the different procedures. Give me a 2 if you want to know about self-sabotage. There's a bit of a time delay on this. Is there anybody here? Or have you all gone? Have I bored you all to death? Oh, 2, Susie said, self-sabotage. Lovely. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Brilliant. Okay. So I think next week we're going to be doing self-sabotage. So I will talk about the different types of self-sabotage, why people sabotage, and try and give you a few tips as to what you can do about it. It's not something that I can easily resolve for you like that, but I can give you some support and guidance on how you might help yourself, or at least identify your sabotage or your saboteurs and why you're sabotaging your weight loss, so that you can have a think about ways, or we can work of ways that you can get around that. Okay, somebody else has put 1. Debbie wants to know about the 2 and 1. Okay, so I'll start off with a little bit of the different, particularly talk about the Stacey bypass, which is a new one that most people don't know about, and then we'll go on to self-sabotage. Thank you for listening to me tonight. I really appreciate you being here, and it's lovely to see some of you. Hope you'll come back this next week for our next live. If any of you would like some help with your journey in any way whatsoever, just drop me a PM, send me an email, and I will do my utmost to help you. Sending the love back, guys. Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye. Take care. Have a lovely bank holiday evening, those of you that are on a bank holiday, and those of you who aren't, just have a lovely evening. Those of you who are watching it on replay, yeah, nice to meet you. Take care. Bye. I'll put the replay up tomorrow, guys. I'm going to have a rest. Bye.